All right, obviously, I just can't get enough of these paper company bargain basement shotguns. This one, though, a little bit different of an animal. 20 gauge bolt action, magazine fed, the Glenfield Model 50. This one's interesting. Let's check it out. Mill Serp Garage. All right, what do we have here? So this is a Glenfield Model 50. What is this thing really? Well, actually, it's a Marlin Model 55. The Marlin Model 55. Get out my paperwork here. This thing came out in 1954. This thing hit the streets. Okay, and it was the first model was called the Hunter. So this Hunter version, that one hung around from 1954 to 1964 in 12 gauge, 1956 to 1964 in 20 gauge, and 1961 to 1966 in 16 gauge. All right, now there were some versions of this guy. This thing was pretty cool. It was bolt action. The ones I just mentioned, the Hunter, was 2 3/4 inch shells, and it had a 2 round magazine. They all followed the same form: a 2 round magazine, one in the chamber for 3 shots to make it legal for hunting, and it was popular. They had a bunch of different variations. So I'm gonna run through them right now, just quick. They until we get up to like where ours fits in. So a Model 55 Goose gun was available. These are all crazy. These guns are all wacky. The Goose gun. The Goose gun was 12 gauge. They made this from 62 to 88. Okay, long time. Dig this. 36-inch barrel. Overall length of 56 3/4 inches. This thing weighed 8 pounds. Okay, you want to talk about it's not so much the length of the barrel would increase velocity or really do much for accuracy. Believe it or not, it doesn't do much, but what it does have is an incredible sight radius. So I can only imagine for shooting trap, that must be insane with 36-inch barrel. I'm going to be looking for one of those, to be honest with you. All right, then there was a swamp gun. They covered all bases here. See, so they made a swamp gun that was a short barrel. I think it was an 18-inch barrel, 12 gauge. Um, and that was 63 to 65. Didn't I see that? That looks like, could be a rare one, the swamp gun. They made a Model 55G. This is where, see the G, there's a G coming in, so you're getting close. This was the beginning of Glenfield. We'll get into the Glenfield thing a little bit more later if I remember, but Glenfield was basically a paper company that Marlin started up around 1960 to be able to track sales to mass merchandisers, like everybody else did, like J.C. Higgins and all those others. They figured if they made it a different company, a different name, and they just marketed that to the mass merchandisers, and they start like it's a separate. Like I said, I actually have the name of the guy that started that paper company on the side. But this was what's cool about this gun right here is that this was the first of those Glenfields. You've heard of those Glenfield Model 60 to 22 that looks like a 1022, like a Ruger 1022. Those Glenfields, you can't walk into a gun store without seeing one of those Glenfield Model 60 22s on the wall. So those Glenfields were very popular then. That was a number of years after this, or actually, it might have been right around the same time, maybe a couple of years after they started with these. But this was the first of the Glenfields, the 55G. Glenfield is in parenthesis, like they didn't really even call it a Glenfield just yet. That one was produced between 61 and 65. All right, they made that in 12, 16, and 20 gauges, but 2 3/4 inch shells. So remember that. 55G was from 61 to 65, 12, 16, and 20, 2 3/4 inch. Now, there was also a model, couple more. There was a model 55 slug gun. All right, that was in 12 gauge only, I'm pretty sure. And it was from 73 to 79. This one had like scope mounts on it and I don't know, a couple of other things. And it was basically to use as a rifle. So it had rifle sights, I think, and mounts for the mounts for a scope. There's another crazy one right here. This is another one that I got to keep an eye out for. See if I can find one of these. A model 5510. Okay, 5510 Super Goose. This thing is called the Super Goose. Okay, it was produced and chambered for the 10 gauge. So it's very different. Magazine's different. Like this one has a lot of different stuff going on. It was chambered for the 10 gauge, 3.5 inch cartridge. Okay, this thing had a separate type of recoil pad on the buttstock because it was such an animal. That one was produced from 76 to 85. See, there's a lot of years there. Those things have to be around. I might have just like even seen them and not even realized what I was looking at, but whoa, 10 gauge, 3.5 inch cartridge. There's some insanity going on there, but let's keep focused here. Where does this Glenfield Model 50 come into this mess? Well, okay, I told you to keep your eye on the Model 55G, which was 61 to 65 in 12, 16, and 20 gauges. This was the kind of cheapy version. Cheaper wood, cheaper this, cheaper that, whatever. It was like the bargain basement version that they started this marketing for these mass merchandisers. Well, in 1960, so they made it 61 to 65. In 66, they changed it up. In 66 to 73, like on some of these sources here, like on Wikipedia, it says it was a shorter version. I don't think it was any shorter. I don't think the size was any different. I think they have that wrong. I think the only difference here is that they went to a 3-inch chamber. That was the only difference. Because if we look at our nomenclature here, we have a 26-inch barrel here, full choke. They said that they went to a modified choke on these. I think Wikipedia has some of that information. It's not accurate. Here's our choke gauge right here. So we're running on the 20 gauge right here. And this is a full choke. This is a full choke. This is not modified. So I think that's wrong. I think they stayed with a full choke. I think they just went to a 3-inch chamber here for the 20 gauge. And yeah, so that's the history. So this guy, 61 to 60, 66 to 73. If you really wanted to narrow this exact model down, it's 66 to 73. And this is a 67. So you'll have both ones with serial numbers and one without, because 1968 was when they were mandatory. This was the last year of no serial number. There is a way to date these Marlins, though. How did I come up with 67? I'm going to show you. So you got the JM right here, which is pretty cool. But let's swap it around, and then we'll take a look at the whole gun, too. We'll swap it around. We'll take a look over here. What do we got over here? A DK. We got the DK mark. And between, let me get my years. I want to make sure I get my years right. I don't want to get yelled at. Between 62 and 68, Marlin put a date code on the barrels. I don't know if there's date codes before that or whatever. I don't know if there's other ways to do it, but I just know from the information I found, you can use the DK here, using this chart right here, to be able to decode. I come to April 1967 with this guy. That's what DK stands for. So let's take a close look. So yeah, we got a 26-inch barrel, nice bead. Polish that up a little bit. Got a little bit of spot rust, a couple of Mars on this barrel here. Whatever it is, what it is. It's a Glenfield Model 50 after all. 20 gauge. The Marlin Firearms Company, New Haven, Connecticut, US of A. It has this really cool, like, barrel ring. I like this because you see, you're not just sighting down like a groove, like an indiscriminate spot on the barrel where you drop that bead. You could use this kind of like as a sight. And I notice if you put the bead right on top of this, it's it slugs hit just above it. So I'm thinking if you lowered the barrel slightly to fit inside a groove that was in here, it would hit true to aim. So I'm not about ready to cut a groove into this, but I'm take it, shoot some trap with it, play around, and see if I can come up with anything. So yeah, 20 gauge bolt action. And look at this mag. The mag got a nice drop. Mag drops. It's nice. Solid metal construction. So like, if you're shopping around for these guys, these types of shun safety right here. Look, a cocking indicator here too. Let's decock it. You could hold the trigger, close the bolt to decock it. And you can see there's the cocking indicator right there. Nice, right? It's like, I don't hear about bargain basement. This thing's got a lot of bells and whistles. Listen, I want to show you what I use. I use this thing. You know what this is? So you got a name tag at work. It's metal on the back. You put it on your shirt, and then on the inside, this clips to it. So they make this, look, they make this really strong, this magnet, so it holds on a name tag without it falling off. And I use this, I keep this in my pocket with a bore scope and with a choke gauge like this. I go to a gun show. This is what I throw in the gun show. I have a separate bag actually with like duplicates of this stuff, but this is what's in my gun show bag because you walk around at a gun show with this in your hand. If you're just looking at a gun, you just, so you can tell, do we have aluminum parts here? Do we have pot metal? What are we dealing with? There isn't a single thing that this magnet doesn't stick to. So that's how I know it's all metal construction here. They're not fooling around. Marlin was not playing games. And, we don't have those issues like we had with the, remember the J.C. Higgins Model 10 where the 12 gauge was breaking this part off? You know what I mean? This is, does the bolt come right back? I forgot. Doesn't it come out if I, let me turn it around. It's always hard to work with it in that direction. It should just pull out of here, no? I forgot how to get it out. How could I have forgotten how to get the bolt out? Oh, the safety's not forward. That's why it didn't work. See, safety has to be on. So yeah, remember, this is what was breaking off here on that 12 gauge. This is a 20. Remember, we had the 16 gauge version of it, so you didn't have to worry. But it's the same kind of thing. You see there's a groove cut in there. You see in there, there's a groove. Because the groove is cut for, for its function, for the bolt, for stuff to, travel through here. And this is where it gets thin. But this one, not so much. It's a real deep locking lug here. The bolt itself, the bolt handle itself is the locking lug. And it goes deep in there. Look at that. Nice. That's pretty strong. It's not really hanging up on the edge of this, ready to crack it apart. I think you'll be okay here. And plus, this is, supposed to be for three 3-inch shells. So I'm sure they did plenty of testing before Marlin would release it like that, And here, I didn't do this. This comes this way. This is drilled and tapped for a Lyman sight. If you want to look it up, it's the Lyman 40 SM. S is in Sam, M is in Mike. Lyman 40 SM. That's the peep sight that goes in here. Impossible to find from my poking around and looking. I couldn't find anything. But yeah, two rounds in the mag, 1 round in the chamber. We're legal for hunting. And let's see. What do I got here? Well, production. I could talk production numbers. We could bust out the Marlin book. Am I really going to bore you guys with production numbers? Let's just suffice to say the Model 50 in 20 gauge. Okay, the production was 8,723 in 1967. I have that number. Do I really need to run through all the others? Yeah, they were 16 gauge ones that they made less of. They were 12 gauge ones that they made tons of, so this is actually pretty rare for these types of, these knock around bargain basement guns, usually a dime a dozen, but with only 8,723 made, that does not exactly make the 20 gauge common. The 12 gauge, I had these numbers. I did write down some. What do I got here? I'll throw a few numbers at you. Let's see. Where did I write it? So the M55G is actually a little bit more rare. There were only 4,762 made in 20 gauge. I think that might be total, though. I don't know if that's just for the year. I didn't write down whether that was for the just 1 year or not. But I'll tell you what. Here I got an accurate number right here. So I gave you 8,723 made in 20 gauge for 1967. Well, compare that to the 12 gauge that they made 89,883 of in 1967. So there you go. It's easily 10 times, more than 10 times more in 12 gauge. And there's some other stuff here that I wrote down. It's just such a mess of information. It's almost like after a while it would be like information overload. Only in 1966 was the Model 50 available with the micro choke, which was the the barrel end device for variable choke. The 12 gauge guns had a recoil pad. The 20 gauge ones didn't. They just had a plastic recoil pad like that. They didn't have the soft one. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And it's some weird. It was like discontinued in '73, but reinstated in 1979 for only 1 year. That's kind of weird, And then those obviously would have serial numbers, but I don't know if you'd be able to run that through any kind of database. I didn't try it because I don't have one, so I don't know. I don't know if you'd actually be able to come up with dates for the serial numbers. But there's some weird thing where it came back for 1 year. There's so much weird information like that, but. Here, I thought what you'd like to do, if I just guessed what you'd like to do, of course, you know me, let's look at the patents. Here's the real interesting thing about this gun. All right, I'm glad you hung in this far if you're still here, okay? So 1954, this thing supposedly hit the streets, but Marlin did not have the patent. The patents were I'm not even sure if anybody had the patents yet. They were filed. Here's the patents. They were filed by two guys. It only lists one guy on here. I'm not sure what that et al. Means, but here are the two guys. They are W.F. Roper and Frederick J. Wright. And these patents were assigned to the Savage Arms Corporation in Utica. Okay, Savage. These were designs for the trigger, receiver, bolt, and magazine. Invented and patented, by these two guys. I have 3 patents. Let me just I want to be able to put them flat on the table here. So there's 3 patents. They were all filed January 22nd. Sorry, this one's January 22nd. This one's February 20th, 53, and then August 53. So it was like the hat trick. Boom, boom, boom. 3 patents right after another. This guy, believe it or not, there is a very unique design to this shotgun, although it just looks like your run-of-the-mill bolt action. I read these patents. You know how I print out the text. I didn't do it with this time, but I read them online. And you could look these up. You could read the numbers right here. There's the numbers. There's 1. There's 2. I highlighted it for you. Look them up and read them. Very interesting. Now, they might have been filed in 53, but these patents didn't hit the streets. They weren't finalized and approved until 56. October 9th, 1956, all 3 of these came through. But look, they started making the gun in 54, okay? So what happened? There's a weird thing with this now. So on August 2nd, 57, where did I come up with that date? Marlin acquired the rights to these Roper inventions from Savage, royalty-free, for $500. So about a year after these patents were granted or whatever, Marlin got these patents, these 3 patents, for $500 and royalty free. That's just like they're just buying it outright for $500. You know, something's going on there. Either there was a switcheroo of other patents that they let Savage use, or who knows what, But these 3 patents on October 9th, 1956, they solidified the design that later would become this the Marlin Model 55 with his Glenfield Model 50. And it's weird because it doesn't seem to follow any kind of Savage. It doesn't remind me of any kind of Savage stuff or whatever like that. Maybe Savage just didn't want it. Who knows? But so here's the receiver recoil plate construction. There is definitely something going on in there when you take it apart. So, weird stuff. I haven't fully completed my full studies yet, but there's something going on with this recoil lug right here, and it's interesting. And then we got here, this is the trigger mechanism. It's definitely a unique, different kind of trigger and steer mechanism. And it's pretty detailed. The explanation of it is like 6, 7, 8 pages long. And here is the magazine. They had to patent their own type of magazine that functions with these 12 and 20 gauge rounds. And the fact that they're tilted like that, it's not unusual. I'm going to show you that they have a pretty radical tilt to them. Now, we're not done with the patents. There was one other patent. This patent was a Marlin patent. Where is it? I know I wrote it down. Where is that? The double extractor. That's what this patent is for. The double extractor, invented by Marlin's Director of Research and Development. That's some title right there. Tom Robinson. This also applied to the Model 336 rifles. And I think it was the 336 rifles first. I don't have one of those, and I didn't really do much research. I don't really know much about them. So I'm going on a limb by saying I think this patent was originally for that. It's much older. This was filed February of 46, and this hit the streets March of 49. They acquired this patent, and I think that's when it went into the 336. I'll bet you if you checked, you'd find that the 336 is a design that started around this time. I didn't research that. I might just be talking nonsense, but that's what I'm thinking. And then later on, this design was incorporated into the shotgun bolt for this shotgun. And it's a very interesting design here, just on paper first. Look at how, see, it's like a collar that goes over. See that recess in the bolt all the way across the top? So that's just a collar. It's a one piece that looks like that. It just clips on. It's seemingly cheap. Yeah, it's like not as good as, like, 2 big claw extractors, that are like that with the spring. You know what those things look like, the claws. These extractors, you look at that, you go, it's just one metal collar that goes over the top like that, which is, it's like sheet metal-y kind of. You would think that would be a great design. But let me tell you, it works pretty cool. Remind me when I got the snap caps out to show you how it functions in a very unique way. But let's just we could take a closer look at it right here. So here it is. You can see there's nothing around the bottom, but then here it is across the top. It's that interesting type of blued steel like that too. And look at how, see how it's just sheet metal-y? It's not exactly like metal claws with springs, and you know how it's just spring steel that doesn't even need springs or posts or pins or anything holding it. It just clips right over the top. Easy to pop off and change if it broke, right? And it's not weak. I'm telling you right now, it's strong. It works. And not only that, look, I'll show you right now. Let's get some snap caps out and check it out. 20 gauge snap caps here. These are pretty good as far as shotgun snap caps go. I had to buy them just for this video, okay, because I didn't have any, and it's just kind of integral the way the action works. It's interesting to check out, and definitely not doing that with. I tried to just use spent shells, but it doesn't work. So the magazine itself, like I said, these rounds, like this angle, this popped up angle is necessary. You might think something's wrong, like why aren't there feed lips holding it in? No, you don't need feed lips there. Feed lips are way in the back here. The one thing about these snap caps, they have what the shell doesn't have is they have a ridge here where, yeah, the shell might have, the brass around the bottom, but I don't think there's so much of a very sharp ridge right there. So it's hard to actually load one over the next in here. It's a little bit of a pain in the neck. You see what I'm saying? I don't think you'd have this trouble with regular shells. At least I didn't. But that's normal right there. That's what this has to look like when you put it in. And that's not, no, you would be like, well, that popping out, something's wrong with it. No, that's how it works. So basically, with this, I should have loaded the chamber already, but you could put the mag in like this, right? And you could run the bolt over the top of them, see? And then you slide one into the chamber. So this is how you would load 3. And now you got 1 in the chamber and 2 in the mag. And what I wanted to show you is, so you have the firing. That's what it's going to look like, popping up out of the magazine. Don't think that something's wrong. Now, I'm going to tell you right away, don't blame the gun if these don't feed right. Because it's normally plastic and it's whatever. You definitely can't baby it. You got to just slam it home. Yeah, see, it'll work if you do that. That's how you have to operate this thing. If you try to push it slow, it's just going to hang up, especially these, because they have sharper edges and it's not, plasticky. You know what I'm saying? So, and bang. See what I mean? So that I actually babied it there. If it's sitting right there and I just slam it home, it'll work. You have to really work this thing, and don't be afraid to beat it up. It's going to take it. Now, what I meant about these snap caps, check this out. You don't see this often in shotguns, let's say. So let's just say I just hold around right here. I start closing the bolt on it. Or just whatever. Let's just say I drop it in the chamber. Normally, with these types of shotguns, you can't do that. Right? You would have to turn the bolt down to pick the round up. You would have to turn the bolt down and the extractor would snap over the edge of the rim. But with here, it's almost like a controlled feed. It doesn't really go up and under it like a true controlled feed, but just pushing forward, if you don't have to turn the bolt down to pick it up, to pick it back up again. You just pushing forward is enough for you to grab that round and have control over it. It's a little bit more control than you'd normally have over a shotgun shell in a bolt action. There's the ejector down over here. It's just like a simple rod. See, very simple, these things, but you see that ejector is not playing games. The extractor isn't, and neither is that ejector. It works every time. And yeah, I bought a case of slugs for this thing because I'm expecting to just there's an indoor range near me where I can bring this. So obviously it's not far to shoot. It's an indoor range. It's not a crazy far distance to play around with, but I have some footage here where like everything stopped in the range when I pulled the trigger. People walked over and were like, "What is that, a rifle? What is that?" I'm like, "It's a shotgun. It's a 20 gauge." You're like, 20 gauge? Oh. People were confused. Nobody knew what the hell was going on. When you start shooting a 12 shotgun, a bolt action shotgun, like with a magazine like that, people, I think they thought it was like 50 BMG or something. I don't know. They were just like, "What the hell?" It's even 20 gauge. Let me tell you, it was thunderous. It really was thunderous. Yeah. So what do we got here? Well, so this Glenfield thing, here's this guy. Glenfield name was started in the 50s. I'm talking about late 50s here because this 1960, 60 model started when these started, with the Glenfield started with this gun in like the 60s. So it was late 50s. His name was Roger Kenna. He formed the Glenfield Products Division, a solely owned subsidiary of Marlin. This was a paper organization whose address was the same New York City address as Marlin. The original purpose was to manage all Marlin matters with mass merchandisers. And they discontinued the Glenfield name in 1983. So, so yeah, at least it's kind of cool that it's really true Marlin. There was no other company. Don't listen. Just there's a lot of sources I'm reading. They're just like, don't listen to anybody that tells you no. It was a separate company. They used inferior materials. It was blems, like the Marlin blems. They would kick over to that company to sell because they weren't good enough to be Marlin material. All of that stuff, I'm telling you, from good sources. Sources like uh, like the Brophy book. This is the Marlin Brophy book. You do not mess with Colonel William S. Brophy, U.S. Air Force, retired. Oh, I didn't save the page. Oh, man, I had page markers in here, but I took them out last night because I was reading. Never going to find it now. Now I'm annoying you. Well, anyway. Oh, here's the... See, there you go. I'm not doxing myself, am I now? So, Stars and Stripes target loads, 20 gauge ammo, 2 3/4, 3/4 ounce rifled slug, case of 250. It was $202.31. More than I paid for the gun. Because I paid 2 beans out the door for this thing, in case you guys are interested. Here's the Glenfield information in the Brophy book. It shows all the different Glenfield models that there were, but for some reason doesn't list this one. It says 66 to 79, but it wasn't 79. It was just that 1 year. 12 gauge bolt action shotgun. Not true, because mine's a 20. So you see, there's some discrepancies in here. Give Mr. Brophy a break. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Here's the Hunter. Michael. Yeah, here's some information for you. What can I tell you? Here's a lot of stuff. Here's some pictures. Here's the swamp gun. Here's the 55G. Here's the Goose gun. Look at the size of that barrel. That doesn't even look normal. That looks like that Joe Piscopo thing. Like, this is the 88 Magnum. It shoots through schools. Remember that from Johnny Dangerously? That's what this shotgun looks like. I want one of those badly. And here's the 5510 10 gauge. What was it? Super Goose? What was that thing called? And the slug gun with the sights. All in all, a lot of history, a lot of cool stuff going on with this shotgun. But I think I landed in a nice spot here. I kind of like this Glenfield, this middle of the road thing. It's like entry level Marlin Model 55 shotgun area. Where you're not. What am I going to do with a 10 gauge? 3.5 inch. I can't go shoot trap with that. And what am I going to do with like these other nutty ones? The 36-inch barrel one, though, that is kind of cool. That's a 12 gauge. I could use that. I want to know what it's like to shoot trap with that thing. I want to know where I'm going to keep it. I think that has to hang on the wall. I think if you lean it up against the wall, it might like hit the roof. That's incredible. 36-inch barrel. Insanity. But that thing must be, if you could really hold those sights on target, that thing must be incredibly accurate just because of the sight radius. I got to get me one of those. So yeah, I know I forgot something. There's more. There was more. What else was there? I don't even remember. Supposedly these magazines are all the same, just the feed lips are different. So I don't know if you're like missing one or whatever, or if you're missing the mag, you might be able to not worry so much. Don't take this as gospel, but I think you might be able to modify any of them to fit. I think it's the same mag with different bent feed lips is what I'm reading. And what else do I have here? What other information? What did I forget? Yeah, we covered that. We covered everything. Covered it all. I think that's it. There's nothing else to be said for the I'm calling it the Marlin Glenfield Model 50. That's what I'm calling it. If somebody says, what is that? I'm not going to say it's a Glenfield Model 50. I don't want to go through a million explanations about it. I'm just going to call it the Marlin Glenfield Model 50. And that's it. And you go trap shooting, you drop around in here, and bang, and it's out, and you're shooting with a bolt action, and everybody's thrilled, and you have a good time. Oh, I love these shotguns. These are the best. And, there's all these guys at the gun stores are funny. Just on the way out, let me tell you this. So they're all like hunched over the display cases where there's the, very expensive handguns, and there's a bunch of guys looking at plasticky guns and, right, ARs on the side, and then there's guys paying attention to all the Glocks and the SIGs in this cabinet, and they're looking in this like a rack of shotguns, and all the way on the side of the rack is where there's a couple of these kind of guys, and I'm the only one over there. Everybody else there in different areas, all huddled together and going over the latest and greatest. And then but no one's really asking to see anything or look at it. Nobody's really touching it. They're just talking, oh, that one's really great. This is good. And I spot this thing. And I just go, hey, let me, can I check that one out right there? And, and I know these guys for years. And he pulls it off the shelf and hands it to me. And I'm like, I see it. He's got a tag on it. It might say 225 on it or something like that, And I'm like, how about we do 200 out the door? I never even cycled the action. I just looked at it. I just looked at it and said, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I was like, how about 200 out the door? He was like, I'll get the paperwork. It was great. Everyone in the store is just looking like, wow, just buy it. Just buy it. Just buy it. What are you guys doing in here? It's like 4-hour consultations over your, $3,800 pistol, which I understand. There's a lot of money going on. $200. Like I said, I bought a case of slugs to shoot through it. 500 slugs cost more than the gun itself. This is what this hobby is about right here. It's not about rarity. It's not about what company, what are they coming out with next? What have they come out with over the last 100 years? That's what we need to be looking at. Watch, by the way, you could load this thing right through here. You push it down and back. Just let it fall forward. How awesome is that? So you could kind of Mauser load it. You know what I mean? You could put a stripper clip. Imagine 20 gauge shotgun stripper clips. That would be awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And I got a lot of cool stuff. Should I do another survey? Did you guys like the survey? I put up a survey. I got to apologize. I put up a survey, and who won the survey? That's not the firearm that I did. And then not only that, then when the survey was over, you say, all right, I go in order of what, but then I just threw out everything and just went and just did this. So I'm completely not paying attention to the survey. And I did a 22 rifle, right? Should I do another survey? Let me know. I think I'm just going to do it anyway. I do it because I want to see what you guys want. But then inevitably, I'm going to do a video on what I want. Sorry, that's just the way it is. I run the channel, okay? But I do want to know where your guys' heads are at. It matters in a way, but it doesn't matter to what's coming next. It might matter to what I buy next, which is even more important. And on that note, let's keep this one under 40 minutes. Not bad. We try to keep them under half an hour, but it never really seems to happen. And we'll be back. We'll be back next time. Maybe I should really just do an honest survey and just give you guys what you want. Don't think that just because I put it in the survey, I have it. See, that's the thing. I might put something in the survey that I'm thinking of buying just to see if people are like, yeah, I want to see that. So don't assume that because you see it in the survey, I have it. Right? It could be just mind games, okay? I'm just playing mind games. I'm definitely doing another survey. And I'm just going to feel it out, get some information from you guys. So be honest, be accurate, but don't be disappointed if the video that comes next has nothing to do with anything that was on the survey. You guys have a good weekend, and see you all later.